Yo, 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 welcome to the show. Welcome to the Social Sunshine Podcast. I am your hostess, Brittany Crossan. This is episode 279, the last episode. So I recorded that before and I cried and I had to take a breath, take a beat, and come back with some fresh energy. It's the last episode and it is an emotional thing for me to do. We have had this show for 5 years. I say we because I have a small but mighty team that has been helping me make it happen for years. November 2019 is when this show first began. And as this episode releases, it's November of 2024. And we have hit 5 years of this show, the Social Sunshine Podcast, without missing a week. That is an accomplishment I am incredibly proud of. I don't know what else I've done every week for 5 years beyond the basics of life, right? I mean, it's a big deal. And if I do say so myself, it's a hell of an accomplishment. I'm proud and I'm thankful for you listening, watching, supporting, being a guest. I'm so thankful to Megan for being with me on this show for years. I'm so thankful to Zach for working on the show for years. And the fact that we hit this huge milestone of not missing a week for 5 years just felt like the right time to chill. The show as we know it is no longer after this episode. I actually, as I record this, don't have a final decision on what's going to happen going forward. Whether we'll have a totally revamped version of this show or whether I will have a completely different show altogether. But I do love a show. I am a performer. I'm an actor. I'm a dancer since I was a child, and I still am as a 44-year-old woman. Most of it happens on social media, as you probably know. And this show, having the opportunity to have my own show of any kind, was thrilling and has been this whole time. I want to take you back to when the show started and also share with you what I think has ended up being the actual reason for this show happening. So back in the summer fall of 2019, I met this nice dude named Doug. Shout out to Doug. And Doug wanted to start a podcast network. We were at a party and he had some experience in radio. And so he said he would start a podcast network because he knew podcasting was getting super popular. And I was like, I've always wanted to have a podcast. I want to have my own show. And he's like, great. Why don't you do it with me? What that meant was I didn't have to set up the show on the distribution platform and all the things you just set up behind the scenes. And I didn't have to edit the show myself. So they were going to do that. But I did the rest. I would have to record it and do all the other shit. I was like, great. This sounds fantastic. Let's dive in. I got 2 young kids. I already had started Fun Love Media. I had a lot going on. Yes, if you're going to help me some, that's great. Well, it was just the first few weeks. And we parted ways. Friendly, but we parted ways. And I just knew that the way they were doing it wasn't the way I wanted to do it. So those first few episodes, after those first few episodes, we had a conversation, again, a friendly one. And I was like, I just need to do it this way. I need to, there were just some details, no reason to get into it. And he said, cool, it's fine. just here, take over here, take the recordings, do whatever. And so I dove in and figured out how to become a podcaster in November of 2019. I had no fucking clue. Now, besides the fact that I'm a performer and love to be in front of an audience, the other big reason why I wanted to have a podcast is because I have been a daily podcast listener for years at this point. I started listening to podcasts on a regular basis, like literally almost every day. In 2015, I started with the Heathers and Kate is what I call it. So in 2015, I started listening to Heather Dubrow's podcast, Heather McDonald's podcast, and Heather Brooker's podcast. And then in 2016, the next year, I started listening to Kate Casey's podcast. And those gals really helped pique my interest in podcasting and inspired me, helped me realize that you could just do this. Brittany, you could just do this. You could just figure it out. They're not all doing things super duper fancy yet. I know everybody's progressed over the years, but at the time, either recording at home or something simple. And I thought, wow, this is very fucking cool. So I listened to all of them for years and then started incorporating other shows, of course, along the way. So whenever I talked to Doug at that party, I just thought, of course I want to do this. I've been wanting to do something like this for a long time. And I just have been busy with babies and just, it wasn't a priority, So we parted ways after we tried to do this first few episodes together. And I dove in and learned how to become an actual podcaster, learned as much as I possibly could. And I did it alone for the first 6 months. And as you heard in the previous episode before this, episode 278 from Megan, she came on the scene starting in episode 29 and has been with me ever since. So this episode is her 250th episode to work on for the Social Sunshine Podcast. Is very cool. My brother Zach also came on sometime around that time to handle the audio portion. This was before video was even a thing for podcasting. It was 2020. It was pandemic time. It was just keep going with this project, right? I've been doing it by myself a while. Now I had a little bit of help. Couldn't afford much help, but I had a little bit of help. And we pushed forward. And we learned how to do podcasting so well, in fact, that Fun Love Media actually started offering podcasting services to clients. And we, as of right now, as a team, we've worked on a total of 8 shows, including this one. And it has been really fun to be a part of that and to see other podcasters do really, really cool things. So that takes you back to how it all started and just figuring it out as I went along, getting a tiny bit of help, getting a tiny bit more help, and so on until we had a good groove as a little podcast team. But what I've realized about this show, and I can say this now a little bit more calmly. I tried to record a couple of times before this, okay, and the tears were too. I'm happy to be real. We can get emotional together, but the tears were a bit much. I could barely talk, so I had to take a breath and come back to you. So here we are for me to share with you that while the subject matter, the focus of the subject matter of this show has been social media marketing, social media content creation, and then things that expand from there, online marketing related topics, business related topics. That's all been the topic and the things that we're talking about. But what I've realized now, reflecting back and knowing that this show is about to end, is that what it's really been about is building your own stage. It's turned into a theme of my career, is building my own stage. I've built a few stages myself, and I don't mean literally. I haven't yet actually, with like hammers and nails, built a stage, but I have designed things and created things myself when I either wasn't invited to other stages, was rejected, tried and was rejected from other stages, or didn't know quite how to get to the other stages. Many times when we try to get on a stage and we then end up feeling rejected because it didn't work out, and by stage, I mean anything, not an actual stage. It could be a job that you really wanted. It could be an organization you were trying to get into. It could be some sort of opportunity. It could even be with people. It could be, trying to make something happen, and you get that feeling of rejection. Usually as human beings, we so badly hate the feeling of rejection and of not making it, whatever it is, that many times it kicks the shit out of us and we back away and we don't try anymore. And look, it's hard. I mean, geez, all the auditions I went to over the years where I was rejected, or times where I wasn't asked to do this or that, or even as a young person, not getting invited for this or that, right? Like, we've all had those moments. I know I've had tons of them. And it can happen in different ways, but whether you were straight up told no, or, which I've had that happen, but also what I've had happen is you have a realization that if you want to do the thing, the way that you're going to have to go about it is that you're probably going to have to just fucking make it yourself. When you look at your circumstances, when you look at your life, I mean, think about 2019. I had young kids. So at the time my kids were 8 and 5. I was in the thick of it. And I was working part-time on my company, Fun Love Media. I was the main, caretaker, the primary parent to lean on for the kiddos to, get all the shit done. And I just thought, wow, this Hollywood dream of yours is has not happened yet. And this likely isn't the time, right? Over here in Houston, Texas, in the suburbs with your kiddos. And so I just had this realization that I could just build my own thing. And that's just what made sense at the time. And I think that's the biggest lesson that's come out of this whole thing. And I know that's not really what the show's about at all, but I think that the way that we have access to so much these days, we have access to technology and to resources and information. We can learn how to do just about anything if we're willing to put forth the effort, the time, and the energy. And the odds of your path, our paths, going exactly the way that we planned them is low. And I don't say that as a negative thing. I'm very woo. Okay. I am very believe it, create it, manifest it, think the positive thoughts. That shit is right up my alley. But the reality of being a human and the human experience is that the path itself is going to be winding and up and down and fucked up along the way because you are a human, not because it can't happen, just because the path itself, the journey itself, it can get crazy. So it doesn't mean you can't reach the cool destination that you wanted to reach, or at least something very close to it or similar, or even better. But it does mean that the journey to get there a lot of times isn't going to be the super smooth thing that you might envision, or that, maybe Hollywood made you think was going to exist. And as soon as we can embrace that and realize that just because shit gets a little windy and crazy doesn't mean we can't still do the cool things. As soon as we can realize that and truly embrace it, man, you're unstoppable. And you building a stage, it just means whatever it means to you. And creating your own thing doesn't even always mean a one-person thing, right? Like I was this one-woman operation at Fun Love Media, and then this show for a while, right? Like doing it alone, and it is what it is. It's cool. Like that's what most of us got to do, but it doesn't even have to mean that for you. Whatever it means, build your own thing. Build your own stage. Especially if you've been longing to be invited or to be accepted elsewhere, and you either haven't been, or your human experience is making it to where currently that is not what can happen like that. And by building this stage, this show, it has made my entire life better. And we can talk analytics and business and how many leads it got to Fun Love Media over the years. But as corny as it sounds, the truth is that when I look back, I just think about the people. I just think about the relationships, the fact that who knows if I would even have my relationship with Megan, who, if you don't know, is the director of design at my company, Fun Love Media. She's also been on this podcast team for years and is my chosen family. I love her so much. I may not have that relationship with her if not for this show. I was reminded by another Fun Love Media team member and a friend of mine, Trevor, that, this show is why he even wanted to be involved with Fun Love Media and work at Fun Love Media and get to know me better. These are incredibly important people in my life. Davina, another Fun Love Media team member. Hi, Davina. She talks about how she listens to the show often, and I always joke about how, wow, you're going to talk to me with work stuff every day. How do any of y'all listen to the show also? It's a lot of Brittany. That's what I always say. It's a lot of Brittany. But, there's that connection that it's built with her. And, of course, the fact that it's allowed me to, oh, goodness, I'm emotional. It's allowed me to work with my brother. We worked together at our dad's business at Signal Electronics for years when we were younger. And then, fast forward, and now we've gotten to work together on this. And the guests that I've had over the years, a lot of the guests that I've had, I didn't know before they were a guest. And these are life-changing relationships. I'm not exaggerating. And people that have become friends, that have become collaborators, that have done business with us maybe, or maybe I've done business with them, or we've supported each other in some sort of way, or we've done a project together, or we've just remain super friendly and supportive and loving toward each other. By building my own stage, it led me to the humans that I was meant to be led to. And like, that is like, it's priceless. It was worth every fucking week of the past 5 years and all the effort and energy and money that has gone into the Social Sunshine podcast. Everybody wants connection with people that you care about and that care about you. My nose is starting to run. Everybody does, right? No matter what. But when you're missing that in your life, maybe because of the conditions in which you were raised as a child, as a young person, maybe because of a current relationship or scenario, maybe because social anxiety has made you feel so unpleasant when you're trying to connect with people. There's so many reasons why, but when you have these like deeper reasons why you're lacking relationships like that, and then whenever they come into your life, and they come into your life because of something that you fucking built, makes you feel like a goddamn superhero. That's what I wish for you. I do hope that over the years that you have learned a lot about social media, and I hope that you know that being real and raw and honest. I mean, this show is like barely ever edited. I mean, seriously, you're welcome, Zach. The work on this show behind the scenes to edit it is quite minimal, because we just leave it real, but I hope that you have recognized that it's been an honest show, and that I hope that you have learned about social media. I hope that you've learned to post the fucking video, the actual video, and also the figurative video. Do the thing, take the leap, build your fucking stage, I hope that it's inspired you. I've had some incredible content creators come on this show and share their stories and talk about the work they've put in to become the strong leaders on social media that they are. I hope that you've laughed, hopefully. Even maybe more than me. That's been a thing. We have these pet peeves about ourselves. Imagine having to fucking listen to yourself and look at yourself every week for 5 years on a show like this. And like, whew, it's a lot. But you got to do it, podcasters. You got to do it. You got to listen and watch yourself at least half the time. You learn from it. But it's a weird, it's a weird feeling. Anyway, thanks for your patience with me in this episode. I didn't have a strict plan of what to say because I really did want to be real and raw and natural and just tell you what was on my heart. And most of all, just encourage you to build your own stage, whatever that means for you. You can do it. And if it feels hard and simultaneously thrilling, you're probably doing it right. All right. That's it. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for supporting the show. Now go out there and do yourself a favor and post the fucking video. I'll talk to you later.